I was entrusted with the task of summing up this event with all its dense content. Something light first. Some anecdotes and selections I picked up along the 2 days. I've learned a lot of things. Cavitation kills like smoking kills. Microorganism is, if you have a proper trainee, you make a good employee. Same with molecules. Some people don't play basket as well as others. We can't come to the floor without using this word. I won't tell you which word it's talking about. And bonus point for Mr. Lavender with his 2 rotor and the supersonic speed. And thank you to the interpreters for resisting his supersonic speed. But I'm not finished. More seriously, I'm going to attempt to summarize, but it's, of course, subjective. We talked about genetics and genomics, their potential to increase the genetic gain, increasing the precision of selection, optimizing the plant production, especially proper conditions for the rhizosphere development, the improving of knowledge on plasticity to resist faced with drought, and recommendations in production systems coming from this research. Disruptive branch, the varietal selection, but it's opening a lot of avenues with more and more complexity, integrating all the living organism, living entities chains, the plant and its microbiota, and the multifactorial approach to really tackle the mildew issue. So climate change is now. I think we all agree on that. We focused a lot the first morning on drought, the increase of average temperatures, and water stress. Knowing that one of the alerts, climate change goes beyond this and contains way more uncertainty. So beware of the selection schemes, because rusticity are going to be criteria to focus on more and more with optimized production in mind. All those tools that are available to us, including genetics, can only work if you know your system, if you work your soil in order to bring life to microorganisms. It may sound obvious for producers, but it's always a good thing to remember about it because it's sometimes a bit damaged. We need not to forget a human factor and skills in production. And given the rest of the 2 days, presentations on production systems with integrating agroecology and robotics. The afternoon on contaminants, wide topic. We talked a lot about the issue of what I can't pronounce because it's been pronounced a lot. It seems that we took the problem the bad way around. It's wider than that. So there's a diversity of plants and their complementarity. The relationship between plants are interesting. Non-PAM cultures, cover crops, presentations that were very well structured with a really clear connections between research and what's interesting for the production level. Indoor culture, companies have decided that there would be environmental gains by producing indoor. Robotics, it's about joining resources, pooling resources for minority productions as a request by producers. The 5 scenarii regarding potential outlooks, that was very interesting and very in-depth. Returning production to local levels or sourcing to local levels. What I keep from this, it's a commercial choice, a regional choice. For consumers, feel that they are part of a project and a community. So it goes way beyond of just reducing transportation distances and carbon footprint. And also natural ingredient use with uncertainties in terms of regulation and but still the potential that we can see behind it. It raises questions for our sector, concerns in terms of contaminants that are doing our head in. There are many raising issues. Firstly, the level of risk acceptation on plants for society. Are plants dangerous? The precaution principle that is non-negotiable, even if we don't have epidemiological data. The near integrality of risk for contaminants is borne by producers that get their production rejected by their clients. And so when talking about meeting societal expectation and bringing back sourcing in France, it raises issues. And how can standards be made acceptable by everyone? Today it doesn't seem acceptable anymore to be divided, given what's at stake and what's being working on. So iteipmai is an absolute necessity in terms of technical research. And how about the political support behind it? So there's hope. There's a lot of positive things happening. The varietal that can be correlated to microbial communities with their huge potential. The future can be in culture and the system to optimize the way it works, as opposed to bringing in external solutions. The priority between plants, the multifactorial approach. We talked a lot about the soil. We talked about PAs. I ended up saying it, damn. As the Europam talked about, especially with the expertise of iteipmai and their research. Solutions for production, the power of collective work, and the need for support from public authorities for all these initiatives. Even if for robotics, we raised the issue of the dependency of production and the loss of know-how. And natural products and natural that is an expectation, although it needs to be regulated and defined, and the interest of being proactive and to keep being proactive on all these topics. If we look a bit further, I'm nearly finished. It's all about synthesis or nearly. Plants are expensive, can be dangerous, depending on climate change. So how about the scenario A of the Outlook study? Is it where we're headed? So I will conclude to list a few needs that don't seem to be met yet. We talked about stronger than ever need to unify the sector. The tool of the iteipmai that for the past few days has proven its relevance, but that strongly needs to be secured and consolidated in terms of financing to meet with all these demands. And also to keep having a part, especially in forecasting and outlook studies, to go beyond the immediate needs of its members. And to keep the link with the research world. So all these issues are both scientific and political. And this is where it ends. Me first? Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this conference because it was really interesting. And also congratulations for the perfect organization. I don't know what you thought about it, but so these Herbalia meetings really bring scientific overview and exchanges with the professionals and producers, especially with all the discussions you had between yourselves throughout these 2 days. And the point is to bring together businesses, research and training entities to develop innovative and collaborative projects with the participation with iteipmai in certain projects, as was mentioned this morning. And today, Vegepolis Valley is about 600 members with about 70 projects carried out a year. These innovations are supported by our hub, not only to produce but also to process plants. And in that field, there are more and more usages of maps, and therefore more and more outlets. So Herbalia really bring innovation, and as an administrator and elected representative supporting this sector, I can only be pleased with it. Let me tell you that the hub team in Vegepolis is at your disposal to support you in turning individual ideas, collaborative ideas, into real-life actions, because you probably got many of these ideas for the past 2 days. We want to turn them into projects to help you find the right partners in France, but also abroad if necessary. And the hub works with all plants, so it helps you having a cross-disciplinary project. Our region is a leader in terms of specialized plant production. For instance, we have the #1 rank for ornamental horticultural production, and we rank 5 for medicinal plants, which are developing, but especially in organic production. For you producers, organic production remains a challenge, and I am not forgetting about the 1,000 full-time equivalent jobs from our downstream operators. And I think the involvement at the national and European levels of the Pays de la Loire is great. Our region is an excellence hub. We're tackling societal and environmental issues, but as you know, the agricultural world lives with all its difficulties to solve in terms of energy, raw material, inputs, packaging, and even workforce recruitment. But also, we're living to the pace of the challenges that are coming in terms of energy transitions, digital, societal transitions with agroecology, climate change, the challenges to access water. Water stress from last summer reminds us of how this resource is key. No water, no agriculture. We need to bring back know-how and productions more locally. We need to promote our plants to come up with quality products. And actually, I invite you to test the menthe pastilles by Giffard. But producing in France has a cost. It's the cost of nature and quality together. And also health challenges. All that among a complex regulation that can be confusing with consumers that do not always understand all the certification aspects and ingredient reading aspects. So the answers will be collective. The region has its part to play in your reflection process.
You will need to be ambitious, you'll need to be motivated, but I have no doubts that you will find it. Innovation, extra skills, training courses, in order to rise to the challenges in front of you. Over the last 2 days, you have begun to respond to these questions, sharing and profiting from sharing your different experiences. I've learned a great deal. And don't forget my problem of weeding my beetroot crop. I thought that all the roundtables were extremely important, extremely exciting. Sharing solutions is important. The region is going to march beside you, because my conviction remains is that there's no future for France without all of its agriculture sectors, and amongst them, obviously, I include plants. The region is a real player in all of your projects. We have to rise to the challenge in the agricultural world, because if I've understood correctly, even if we don't have any control over the past, we do have some room for leeway for the future. I am sure that these meetings will allow you to talk about resilience during and after the various crises that we're familiar with. You are up to the par, and I'm sure the maps have a future beyond 2025. I wish you a safe journey home, lots of motivation, and I say to you, see you in 4 years. Oh, see you in 3 years, apparently. Thank you. Thank you, Laetitia. Here we have a representative who is very motivated. She's spent a great deal of time with us over the last 2 days, and the region is an essential partner for us. They've been with us since the beginning. A very faithful partner, and we're delighted to have her here. And we've heard the message. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to be very quick. I think everybody is tired. Before moving on to the relevant thank yous, I want to just add my word, if I may. You have summed things up perfectly. I don't have anything to add. However, I want to give you some feedback on what I have felt over the last couple of days. I found the presentations very rich. The exchanges were excellent, and I'd like to thank you all for your participation. There were some very rich questions from the room as well, from the public, which is excellent. What I felt then was that the Institute, certainly we're talking about research, but in all the debates we've managed to see the link between production and the industrial world, research, economy, issues which are cross-cutting, linked to energy, climate change, all of these problems which concern us all, and that all of these problems have to be looked at and supported together. So I'm going to take advantage of this audience to repeat what's happening in the Institute. I could send the microphone over to my Christophe here, because he's the president, but we are working. We've mandated a person, Nadine Leduc, who is the former president of iteipmai, in order to work on the genesis of an interpro. That's what we've seen up until now. We've seen this for the last 2 days. But this interpro seems to be an essential tool today to rise to the challenges that we have to rise to together. And downstream, we know, needs upstream needs downstream. The difficulties that we find in production with the associated risks that have been evoked are huge. So we have to be able to find remedies to move forward. And we will only be able to do that if we do it collectively, working together. The interbrew has to come to light, and in order to do so, we have to have means of putting pressure on many bodies and aspects. Particularly, we need to look at the regulatory aspects. This principle of precaution is the one that's prevalent at the moment. It's important that we take something from these 2 days, and they've shown us the need for this. I'd like to thank you all. We'd like to thank all our financial partners. France Agrimer, that was with us over the last 2 days, with Madame Pistou and others. The region, Pays de Loire, the district, the sponsors that you've been able to witness over the last couple of days. You've seen them on the slides. The Institute, all of them. I'm going to perhaps start with the team from the theatre here. You'll notice there's been no problem at all. Everything has worked wonderfully in terms of sound and technologies. So I think they need a round of applause. Thank you also for the people involved in catering. I think you all had enjoyed some very nice food and drink. So thank you. A round of applause for them. Let's also, you don't see them forcibly. The 2 people hidden in the box that no one can see. They had they had the task of interpreting all of this. Sometimes we did hear you banging on the wall because people were getting out of control. That's for you. Thank you. And finally, well, for these 2 days, it's all the work that's been done, you know, initially upstream for the last 2 days, administrators who have worked to make sure that today and yesterday ran as smoothly as possible. The steering committee, I don't have all the names, but there was a follow-up committee, there was administrators who supported the team to put these 2 days together. I think he has them. So the steering committee and administrators, I'm going to read their names. And then afterwards, you have the whole team. The team of what then? The team from the Institute. I'm not going to go through them all, but I will highlight 2 people in particular. And I'd like them to come up on the stage so that we can see them, because they're always in the shadows. Sarah and Céline, could you please come up? Please give them a warm round of applause. I think that the organization of these 2 days, the presentations, the speakers, etc., it was not easy from a practical perspective. I think Céline dealt with all the practical side, and I think everything has been done rather well, don't you? And to conclude, I'd like to thank you all, you for your participation. I'd like to thank all the speakers for having contributed to the richness of these 2 days. I'd like to thank you really for coming for being so many amongst us. There is a questionnaire, a satisfaction questionnaire. Please fill it in. It's important for us. It's important for the team, but also for the administrators. This allows us to make sure that things change. And if there are things that are perhaps less interesting, let us know. And if you've got any proposals, let us know. Thanks to you all and have a safe trip home.